On Tuesday, Senator Dianne Feinstein unilaterally released the transcripts from the testimony of the founders of Fusion GPS, and boy was there ever a bombshell contained within them. In all, Feinstein released 312 pages of the testimony of Glenn Simpson on August 22 of last year. Feinstein said she did so in the interest of transparency, but the truth is that she did it so that Democrats had more ammunition as the Russian collusion narrative dies slower than Bugs Bunny in a Looney Tunes cartoon. According to Fox News, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley called the release confounding since Feinstein dropped it right in the middle of an investigation. But truth be told, this is going to work out worse for Democrats than Republicans or President Trump. In fact, the transparent documents were heavily redacted and mostly showed that Simpson refused to answer a number of key questions, but what it did reveal is going to have conspiracy theorists going insane. Among the many revelations in the document, though, is the claim from Simpson's attorney that someone died because the dossier, which was commissioned by Fusion GPS, was publicly released. He wants to be very careful to protect his sources, Attorney Josh Levy said during the August 22 Senate Judiciary Committee interview of his client. Somebody's already been killed as a result of the publication of this dossier and no harm should come to anybody related to this honest work. Levy didn't elaborate on who was killed. The website BuzzFeed first published the dossier online last January, airing its unverified allegations about President Trump's connections with Russia. Now who could that have been? Let's look at the timeline of events and see if maybe we can do a little bit of good old-fashioned detective work. Perkins Coie, who was being paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, took over the investigative costs for the dossier in April of 2016. From that point on, they hired former British spy Christopher Steele for one specific purpose: find any dirt you can, using any method you need, on candidate Trump. So naturally, Steele used his Kremlin connections to falsify the likely Republican nomination for president. Fast forward to July 10, 2016, when DNC staffer Seth Conrad Rich was gunned down after being shot in the back 3 times in what police described as a botched robbery. Only nothing was taken off of Rich's body. Instead, his attackers shot him, stole nothing, then fled the scene, although it's unclear if Rich had any work-related items with him such as a briefcase or a bag containing documents. While Rich wasn't involved with the financing within the DNC, he was a tech guy. Word travels fast around offices, and he very well may have heard about what the DNC and Hillary were doing during the campaign and threatened to go public. If that's the case, there's several theories as to why he was killed, one of which is he was the source for WikiLeaks. Then it makes perfect sense that Simpson's lawyer was talking about him when he made the cryptic statement. That's not to mention, if Rich was the source for WikiLeaks, what would stop him from exposing a sinister plot to thwart the will of the voters using falsified information created by the Kremlin? Of course, this is all speculation, and really it's up for you to decide. But damn if this lawyer's remarks aren't extremely telling, in this reporter's opinion. Do you think the lawyer was talking about Seth? Let us know in the comments.
Amazingly, now there are over 1,100 sealed indictments over the entire United States. And Monday morning, Jeff Sessions was speaking to senators at the committee hearing, and he didn't directly say how many indictments there are, but he did hint that there are a lot, and he's been very busy since he was put in the position of Attorney General of the United States. Later that same day, Monday night, Sean Hannity addressed the fact that there was a massive amount of indictments and that they've been handed out. And he also said both Sessions and Mueller have been very busy working together. He pointed out Hillary Clinton seems to be in the center of the entire thing, which I found amazing because I just said that over the weekend. During that hearing in front of the committee, one senator asked Sessions if he was going to recuse himself from the Uranium One investigation. But Sessions was very quick, and he said, I can't answer that question because no matter what I answer, I would either confirm or deny there was even an investigation. That was supposed to be a gotcha question that was supposed to mess up the testimony and trip him up. So we know this. There are around 1,180, I think it's 1,186 sealed indictments nationwide. 108 of these are in Colorado, which makes me pretty happy since this is such a ridiculously liberal state and they're ruining the whole entire state because of it. This is going to be one of the most massive takedowns we've ever seen, and I believe this has to do with the entire Clinton scandal. The entire thing. From the ridiculous attempt to push this Russian collusion scandal onto the Trump campaign to the uranium one. All of it leads back straight to Hillary Clinton and her campaign and her side of the aisle. There's so much corruption, it's just all connected. And on the back channels, we've had reports that Hillary Clinton was detained. My guess is that it has something to do with this mysterious footwear she's been seen wearing on her ankle, just as John Podesta and John McCain have. And if people have pictures of this, I'd really, really like to see pictures of these boots on their same legs. We've only seen one picture so far, and to me that's not good enough. We need to know this for a fact. We haven't heard much out of any of these people, and it's really kind of unusual that they haven't taken the opportunity to swipe and put on their 2 cents on Roy Moore for this ridiculous lie that they've been spreading about sexual harassment and assault. Personally, I don't believe any of the crap because I know how opposition research works. They do it in every single campaign, from the low-level campaigns to the highest campaign that there is, and they would have found this a long, long time ago. To me, it's just more of the same crap because rhinos, if they don't like somebody, they do the same thing that Democrats do, and I call them rhinos because they're not true conservatives. They're actually Democrats in Republican clothing, and I don't appreciate that at all. For this reason, I think it's a load of crap. Now, if you've been paying any attention to Q clearance, which I have, but I haven't been able to post in a couple of days, there was an unusual string of posts that had bracketed words and letters. What was interesting about this is when these words were taken out of the post, it appeared to be some sort of a code, which, look at the screen, says U.S. risk this week, God and country. Pretty odd, but definitely something is going on there, so let's remain vigilant. Then on Twitter, John Podesta was trying to push this fake Russian dossier, but what was weird about it, he was silent for 11 days, which coincided with the arrest of his brother Tony. That was unusual. See, people, you have to fit these puzzle pieces together. You just can't stare at them and wish they went together. Do you even understand how these things work? If you've been a journalist for any time at all, we get this stuff on our desks all the time and we can't usually say anything because the sources are too afraid to talk. That's the whole reason that you don't always see this in the mainstream media. We've also learned from Q is that he's very definite and clear about Wonderland, the White Rabbit, Snow White, and all of this code is within 4chan. There's supposedly 7 computers analyzing all of this data for all of these indictments and things and the entire investigation, and they've been given the names of the 7 dwarfs. Q has said that the 3-letter agencies, CIA, FBI, NSA, all of those, have been infiltrated at the highest levels, and we can usually deduce things like this when we see the results. They're hiding all this information about the Clintons and covering up for them, which I don't understand. Why would you want to do that? We also know that President Trump is surrounding himself with generals because he's afraid that there's going to be some kind of a coup to take over the government. It looks like the Democrats and rhinos would be really happy about that because they are always against the people. We are conservatives. We will do what it takes now that we've got a strong leader in place. And if you've been reading any of these posts on 4chan, we've also found out that George Soros, he's one of the main funders of every liberal group out there who wants to destroy our country. He's had his assets apparently frozen. He has been giving away billions of dollars to liberal organizations lately, encouraged other people to do so as well, because he's liquidating his assets. He just sold, supposedly today, his stock in Facebook, Twitter, and Apple, and other companies. So, you know, this information that we're getting on 4chan seems to be coming true or is real or however you want to put it. They don't have the money to continue some of the things that they're doing because Granddaddy Soros is liquidating everything, and we think this could be the reason that Antifa turnouts have been so poor. They just don't have the money if they have to go to jail because they've been doing things that are illegal, and George Soros was getting them out. So there's some spreadsheets that I'm going to put down below. You can download those and look. They are a compilation of all the posts of Q clearance. They're pretty interesting. I think you need to read them. We can tell the Democrats are shook up because they've been putting out false reports and false media through Media Matters, which is the David Brock organization, which is vicious Democrats. They're violent and vicious, and they push vulgarity. They're also hooked up with that pedo pusher, James Alefantis. And yes, James Alefantis, I said it. I said it out loud. You're a pedo pusher. And you guys are the ones that are behind the Keurig thing and Sean Hannity. That was a lie. So, and for all the liberals who keep posting a bunch of ridiculous BS down there, I'm going to tell you something right now. In the 50s, there was a government operation called Mockingbird. It was designed specifically to infiltrate the media so they could manipulate and control what you are told and what you'll believe to be the truth. They called the people who believed the lies they were telling useful idiots. Have you ever heard that term before? And they would either place people in the media to deliver the news, or they would feed certain reporters this supposed intel. We know they haven't quit doing this because you can just look at MSNBC, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, NPR, whatever. Pretty much any other source of mainstream media news. That's where they've infiltrated. It's so obvious these guys are lying. It's not hard to find out. Q clearance has been right from the beginning, from the mass shootings to the gun grab to the sealed indictments. He's said everything. Mainstream media is not going to report on this stuff because they're involved. This is the reason they're not saying anything, because they are involved. And when they do report this, finally, because it's too blatant, they're going to twist it in their favor, and it's going to be some twisted version of the truth. They're going to attack. They will. I'm going to keep on fighting regardless. I stand behind the president. He has a few loyal soldiers at his side, and I'm warning you now. We need to prepare, and according to all reports, there's a civil war that's coming, and you need to prepare for this chaos. Look at BP Earthwatch's channel. He has some good stuff on there about how to be prepared and what's coming our way. These people...
Earmarks. Mechanisms used by congressional lawmakers to pay for a project, usually to benefit his or her constituents.
On January 9, 2018, Senator Dianne Feinstein unilaterally released the transcripts from the testimony of the founders of Fusion GPS, and boy, was there ever a bombshell contained within them. In all, Feinstein released over 310 pages of the testimony of Glenn Simpson on August 22nd of 2017. Feinstein said she did so in the interest of transparency, but the truth is that she did it so that the Democrats had more ammunition as the Russian collusion narrative dies slower than Bugs Bunny in a Looney Tunes cartoon. According to Fox News, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley called the release confounding, since Feinstein dropped it right off the bat in the middle of an investigation. But truth be told, this is going to work out worse for the Democrats than Republicans or even President Trump. In fact, the transparent documents were heavily redacted and mostly showed that Simpson refused to answer a number of key questions. But what it did reveal is going to have conspiracy theorists going insane. Fox News also reports among the many revelations in the document, it is the claim that Simpson's attorney that someone died because of the dossier, which was commissioned by Fusion GPS and was publicly released. The document contains a narrative about Perkins Coie, who was being paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, who took over the investigative costs of the dossier in April of 2016. From that point on, they hired former British spy Christopher Steele for one specific purpose: find any dirt you can using any method you need on candidate Trump. So naturally, Steele used his Kremlin connections to falsely dirt the likely Republican nomination for president. Fast forward to July 10th of 2016, when DNC staffer Seth Conrad Rich was gunned down after being shot in the back 3 times in what police described as a botched robbery, only noting that nothing was taken off of Rich's body. Instead, his attackers shot him, stole nothing, then fled the scene, although it's unclear if Rich had any work-related items with him, such as a briefcase or a bag of containing documents. While Rich wasn't involved in the financing within the